Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you. So today I want to talk to you about how to effectively use Proviron. But before we get into that, I have to reiterate that I am not a doctor, so anything that I say in these videos is for your entertainment purposes only. What you do with this information is completely up to you, and I am not advising nor condoning you to use any of the things that we discuss in these videos whatsoever. So let's get into Proviron. One thing about Proviron, I absolutely have always loved Proviron. I feel like it is completely overlooked, completely underrated, and basically often misunderstood. I've done Proviron videos, so you can go back and reference those to get a in-depth understanding of Proviron, how to use it, and what exactly it does. But in short, what it does is it can lower SHBG, which is sex hormone binding globulin, and it can free up bound testosterone. So that will help your free testosterone numbers increase, which obviously by doing so on cycle especially, it's going to allow you to get far more out of what you're doing. So Proviron, well, if you're looking to take Proviron and have some kind of huge weight gain, huge strength gain, huge, whatever, then you're going to be some of those people that believe it's disappointing because they try to run it by itself or expect something crazy out of it. You have to understand what it does. It's like an extra added performance enhancer. What it does is it elevates what you're doing to a much higher level because it allows you to get far more out of what you're doing. So what it provides is actually very significant. Although you may not be able to see it directly on the surface by running it alone, by adding it to your cycle, it's going to enhance it twofold. And that's one of the reasons why I love it. Also, it has aromatase inhibitor properties, which does not mean that it can be substituted for an aromatase inhibitor. However, it will help to lower estrogen more, so you may either have to take less, or maybe if you normally need aromasin, maybe you could switch to Arimidex or something like that. But it could allow you to take less of an aromatase inhibitor because, look, I'm all for ancillaries. I'm one that always is a proponent of protecting yourself. But let's face it, you don't want to use more than you have to, right? So anything that can help to, lower what you need is tremendous. So how do we use Proviron? Well, 25 to 50 milligrams today is where you generally want to stick. You can definitely go up to 100 milligrams per day with no issue. And the beauty of Proviron, which I love, is that although it is considered a steroid, if you check blood work from people and check the toxicity, if they're just running Proviron, you're not going to see much of an increase of anything. If you're looking at suppression, you're not going to see much of anything. So while it's categorized and deemed as a steroid, a lot of the negative side effects that you get with most steroids, especially oral steroids, you're not going to see with Proviron. So when I tell you, don't run an oral steroid longer than 6 weeks, which is what I always advise you, Proviron's much different. You can get away with 14, 16 weeks with it just fine. Now, people will ask me, what about running it in post-cycle therapy? Look, there's a lot of debate on that. I've seen blood work now over a decade on people that have used Proviron in post-cycle therapy, and people that run a proper post-cycle, I haven't seen it negatively affect their post-cycle therapy. However, I don't put it in my PCT protocols. It's not something that I recommend, but I'm not going to sit up in here and tell you that you absolutely can't do it. That's your judgment call. Like I said, it's not something that I generally recommend, but since we're talking about how to effectively use it, you could considerably probably use it if you want. But like I said, it's not something that I'm going to recommend. But you definitely want to run it in your entire cycle if you're going to use it, start to finish. 25 to 50 milligrams a day is plenty. All right? Now, TRT is another way that you could use it. You could throw it into your like I said, I wouldn't run it like 20, 24 weeks. But I've done it 16, 20 weeks. I've seen plenty of people do it with no issue whatsoever. So if you want to throw it into your TRT for a little bit extra, sure, why not? It's no big deal. It does have a little bit of muscle hardening effects. I don't like it when people compare it to Masteron because you're not going to see what you do with Masteron with Proviron. You're just not. You're not going to get that intense muscle hardening and aesthetic, that you get from Masteron. But I would say it's similar in some of the characteristics that it has. Proviron's going to be the best at lowering SHBG and freeing up bound testosterone. And that's the main thing about it and what I love about it. So when you implement that in there, and hey, if you want to throw it into a SARM cycle, look, I'm the one that always says no steroids without test, but like I said, Proviron's far different. So if you want to throw it in with a SARM cycle, throw it in with HGH. If you're running peptides, if you want to run it solo, whatever the case may be, that's what I'm trying to say about how to effectively use it. You can do it in any scenario, any facet whatsoever. Just understand what you're getting with it and what it actually does. Don't use Proviron and expect to gain 5 or 10 pounds. Don't use Proviron and expect to gain, 30, 40 pounds on your bench press and have some crazy amount of Hulk strength. Understand what it does. Understand where it's effective, understand how it works, and then you will appreciate it. And you will realize how great it truly is. It's more of a supporting cast member as opposed to a star. But just like we know, any sports team needs to have the full team, has to have the supports. The linemen that don't get talked about are what actually wins you the game, because if you can't block for your quarterback, you're not going to score. So Proviron is like one of those key components that allows you to maximize your cycle or take it to the next level. Okay? But like I said, you can go up to 100 milligrams per day just fine, but there's really no need. It's not like you're going to get some crazy intense benefit as opposed to 50 milligrams. And you'll save some money in the process too. But that's really Proviron in a nutshell. I normally don't get into brands and things like that, but if you can find a good Bayer Proviron, that's always been a really good, solid brand, just so you know, just from what I've heard. But other than that, that's Proviron. Like I said, 50 milligrams a day is the sweet spot on that dosing. So just understand it and appreciate it for what it does. That being said, www.icearms.com/forums. I'm also in the Evolutionary Forum as well as the Elite Fitness Forum. You can also email me, dylan@icearms.com. Stay tuned because I'm going to be talking about a new podcast that I have coming out as well, so stay tuned for that. And that will be uploaded onto YouTube as well as elitefitness.com. So just be aware of that, and possibly iTunes as well. I'm not sure yet. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That being said, stay tuned for plenty more to come. Dylan Gemelli, signing off.